Chapter 3 The White Gem of Sorcery. The fire's flames are warm against Stefen's face, soaring skyward from the pit that sits between him and Petra, High Priestess of the Temple of Mysteries. Thick ribbons of fragrant smoke rise from the burning braziers that stand encircling them in the pit of flames. The fragrant scents of frankincense and storax drift through the night air as Petra dances wildly, possessed in spirit and dancing around the flames as she sings ancient words into the night. "What must we do?" Stefen had asked her before the ritual started. "I shall use prayer and sacrifice to invoke the great god. When his gaze falls upon us, I will ask the honor of channeling him. Should he grant my request, I will then light a great fire at the steps of the temple. When the time is right and the flames burn bright, I shall bless the blazes with sacred herbs and prayer, while using an ancient dance to invoke the mysterious powers within the realms to aid us," the priestess said. "Shortly after I have begun this dance, a deep trance shall take me over. It is only then I will hold power great enough to speak to Mr. Heractus directly. Once my prayers have been heard and offerings accepted, the flames shall shift in color to that of shadows laced with silver light. Once the flames blaze in this way, it will be time for you to sacrifice your offering by throwing it into the sacred fire." With his hands gripping tightly around his flute, Stefen's eyes reflect the vibrant hues of the red and golden flames that blaze in front of him. They twirl and whip through the air as Petra continues to dance around them. All the meanwhile, the flickering fire grows brighter and brighter, until Stefen can hardly stand to keep his eyes open. As the golden flames blaze with light, gleaming brighter even than the sun in the sky, his eyes begin to fill with water. He quickly wipes them with his free hand, and just as his eyes adjust from the tears, the flames quickly turn the same shade as a starless sky. Where once the vibrant golden hues of the fire illuminated the temple's step, Stefen sees only the soft silvery light of the black flames dancing before him. "Flames of shadow laced in silver," he whispers, gazing into the pit of black fire. "May my offering burn as bright as my faith," he says, before gently tossing the flute into the base of the flames. The moment its carven wood falls beneath the fire, everything around Stefen is engulfed by the black and silver flames. A burning wave ripples through his skin as his body is filled with a powerful warmth like a blazing sun. The fires around him have begun to grow wilder, their silvery light filling his eyes before all at once everything vanishes. Darkness covers the area as the smell of smoke fills the air, stinging Stefen's eyes and causing him to blink hard. When he opens them again, Stefen finds himself standing in an entirely different place than he had been a moment before. He stands at one end of a short hallway with a stone wall to his back. There is a wooden roof above him, but all he can see is a bright light at the other end of the hall. "Priestess?" he shouts. "Where have you brought me, and what am I to do now?" he asks, but after no response sounds, Stefen decides there is only one option left: to leave the hallway and see where this trial shall take him. The light coming from the doorway leads into a courtyard which is encased by massive cobblestone walls that stand covered in dull green vines, wide open and ever expanding, yet the only thing Stefen can see in the entire space are two trees growing in the center. Towering oaks with fiery red leaves, their branches intertwining overhead to create a tunnel of twisted wood. He approaches the trees, beginning to look between them, yet they seem to be playing some trick over his mind. Regardless of which side of the trees he tries to look through, they always create a tunnel leading onward. "Spellcraft," he says, racing around the bases of the two trees. He circles them over and over, but like some trick of sorcery has been placed, no matter from which direction he looks through them, he sees only the same tunnel leading onward. Taking a deep breath, he steps between the trunks and begins walking through the intertwined trees. He moves through a long maze-like tunnel of twisted wood and leaves until eventually he comes to a fork in the path. "Where am I to go?" he whispers, almost as though responding the winds begin to whisper back. "Faith," it seems to hiss faintly in his ear. "Faith," another whisper says. "Faith leads us," the voices whisper all around him. "Guiding us, even through darkness," they say softly before going silent. "Guiding us, even through darkness," Stefen repeats, sitting down in the grass and closing his eyes. He takes a deep breath, grounding his body and focusing his mind, before calmly opening his eyes and breathing steadily. His mind and body feel void of worry or distraction. All attachments seem to have vanished, momentarily replaced with his faith and devotion towards Kimonis. As though knowing the correct path the entire time, Stefen rises from the grass and walks onward, taking the path to the left. He faces many more twists and turns, many choices on which direction he must now follow, yet at each and every one, his faith presents him with the answer. Finally, after rounding a right corner of thick leaves, Stefen comes to an exit that leads out into a small clearing. Looming before him there stand 3 large doors encircled by the same twisted oak and leaves the maze-like tunnels had been made up of. The first door to his left is crafted of polished silver and engraved with golden swirls that decorate the silver door like 1,000 sunflowers in a snow-covered field. The door in the middle is wooden and has thick, dark vines covering it from top to bottom, giving it the appearance that has been falling near to pieces for decades. It looks so far into neglect and collapse that the only things holding the door together seem to be the vines that cover it. The final door on Stefen's right is made of polished black crystal and depicts a beautiful design carved into its shadow-like depths. The designs strewn across the crystalline door depict the many constellations of the night sky, some of which had shone over his head this very night to empower the ritual. The moment he approaches the first door, a greedy sense of longing floods over Stefen. A deeply rooted desire for riches and treasure creeps into his body as something occurs to him. Stefen needs only to open this silver door in order to satisfy all these desires for riches. Should I open this door? He thinks. Then I shall find wealth beyond my wildest dreams. But what wonders may lay beyond the others, I wonder, he thinks, moving on to the next. When coming face to face with the middle door, vine-covered and falling to pieces, he feels the soft rustle of the wind tussling his hair as it blows through the holes in its surface. Stefen squints to look through the splintered wood but sees only the trees on the other side. Not very remarkable, he says, before again moving on. When Stefen steps closer to the final door, the stars carved into it begin to glow, and against the dark crystal that the door is made of, the glistening constellations shimmer like stars set into stone. Each constellation floods Stefen with a different, though very powerful feeling, for each one he gazes into tells him of a great secret hidden behind the door. One speaks of the powers to summon and command the spirits, while another tells of sorcery strong enough to bind or destroy the gods themselves. All he needs to do to learn these secrets is to open the door and step through its threshold. Silver, wooden, or crystal, Stefen says softly. Perhaps it is not what the doors are crafted of, but what they lead to, he says, taking a step back to see all 3 doors at once. Treasure lays beyond the first, marked by swirls of silver and gold, while soft wind comes from the second, and powerful knowledge lays locked behind the third. It is a gem of stellar value which I seek, so perhaps the door of treasure shall lead the way, he says. Yet when Stefen approaches, the door fills him with such a profound sense of selfish longing that this couldn't possibly be where the gem is heading. For it has been his faith that has guided him this far, and such a feeling of greed only serves to obstruct his faith. Thus, Stefen walks away from the first door. Stepping back for a good look at the final 2, Stefen pauses again to think. It is a gem of sorcery that I seek, he whispers. Perhaps I must learn a ritual and summon the gem to prove I am worthy of its power. Surely the sacred knowledge to do so lies locked away behind the star-strewn door. As Stefen approaches the black crystal door, his temptation to open it and learn the secrets within feels sinister and corrupting, almost as though the knowledge locked behind it would, in the end, learn to control him rather than he it. This cannot be the way, he says, again stepping away from the 3 doors. I do not understand what to do, he thinks, again examining the doors. 3 stand before him, and one blocks the path of faith that shall lead him forward, though in truth his fate is no longer his own to command, for he has sacrificed that right to the goddess Kimonis, and it is she who now commands his destiny. The path ahead is that of faith, and at its end I shall find my lady's design for me. Yet there is only one door, unburdened by selfish desire. This can be the only path forward. Stefen says as he walks up to the wooden door, places a palm on its splintering surface, and takes a deep breath before pushing it loose of the vines. The moment the door is opened, the other 2 vanish, leaving only the empty wooden doorway standing before him. I pray I've made the right choice, he says softly, staring through the trees on the other side. Kimonis, guide me, Stefen prays before walking through the wooden doorway. A smoldering pit sits again before him, though this time Stefen sees no raging fire inside of it. Where once the enchanted flames of shadow and silver had engulfed the ritual space, now only a soft smoldering pile of cinders burns where the pyre had been. Nestled loosely in the center of the cinders sits an opaque white gem, It glistens of soft golden white light, like that of a winter snow that falls through an afternoon beam of sunlight. Stefen leans forward and gently takes the gem from the pile, using his cloak to wipe its surface free of cinders. Stefen raises it to the sky, using the moon and starlight to illuminate it before gazing into its depths. The gem is cut in an oval fashion like any other precious stone. Yet, unlike other gems, this one seems to be alive while glistening white, blue, and golden light. "Petra," Stefen calls into the darkness, "High Priestess of Mr. Heractus, I have returned with the gem. Where have you gone?" "I'm here, young Stefen." Petra's beautiful voice issues from the top of the temple steps. "You were gone for some time before returning with the gem," she says, walking down the stairs and towards him. "How long ago did we begin the ritual?" he asks. "For me it feels like only a few short moments have passed." "Once the flames had taken your mind, your arms fell to your sides heavy as lead," she explains, now standing before Stefen. "You stood there like that nearly all the night long before I heard your voice in the darkness." "Where did the flames take me?" he asks. "Have I seen the sacred realm of Mr. Heractus?" "In a way," she responds. "What you experienced was an entrancement brought upon you by Mr. Heractus himself. The ritual opened your mind to him so that he could test you, and these tests are whatever it was that you experienced. They are unique to each of us and are designed to examine our deepest and most inner workings, delving into our minds and souls, for not all are worthy to be taught his mysterious craft." "And what happened to you when the enchantment was placed upon me?" Stefen asks. "Were you transported away as I, tasked to face your own test in his name?" "The path to true wisdom lies behind the answers to such questions," she begins. "To seek knowledge for the sake of wisdom is just a path to follow, though, for now, all you need to understand is the path to Pagamon Castrum," she says, leaning in and gazing deeply into Stefen's eyes. "In time you will grow to become one of the wisest among men. I look forward to that day so we may meet again. For now, however, the time has come for you to return to your goddess. Allow me to show you the way." After saying this, Petra lets out a long, soft, and rhythmic whistle. The sound dances through the night air before the map in Stefen's pocket begging to hum, vibrating almost as though reacting to the musical tone. Soon, even Stefen feels changed, stronger as if the sorcery of the whistle has reinforced his mind and body. After a few moments, Petra ceases the sound and the vibrating of the map ends. "That will guide you," the priestess says, gesturing to his pocket. "But do remember, keep only to the path. No matter what you hear or see, do not venture from it. I sense a powerful protective enchantment was placed upon you. Yet, when you arrived here, I felt a break in it. Not only has my enchantment reinforced that of your goddess, but it shall also help to guide you home more swiftly than you could have moved before. This is my gift to you, Stefen. Now hear my words and hear this warning. The gem that you carry is the only object of its kind in our realm. Though conduits of sorcery like rings or wands can only be wielded by those to which they are bound, a gem of sorcery can be used to draw on divine power and create one's own conduit of sorcery. Because of this, many monsters, magicians, and spirits, all powerful both in nature and magic, would slaughter to acquire it. This is why, now more than ever before, it is imperative you move only along the path. Your possession of this gem is of vital importance in the rituals of devotion." "Yes, priestess, I understand," Stefen says. "Thank you as well for all you have done to help me. I pray the gods will one day favor me enough so that I may offer something in return for the generosity you have shown me." "A day shall come," she begins, "when your devotion will lead you to a possession similar to mine with Mr. Heractus. You shall be a high priest, voice of the winter winds, whose duty it will be to help guide the realm of men as the divine sees fit. Complete the rituals of devotion for your goddess, and this debt shall be repaid." "I understand, priestess," Stefen says, pulling the map out of his pocket. "I shall return to my Lady of Frost and progress my studies with her. Thank you again for all you've done for me. Grow your wisdom until it reaches the stars and spread your gifts with the world. This will be more than enough to repay the kindness I've shown to you. But for now, move swiftly and safely on your journey back." "I shall," Stefen says, looking down at the map. "I must leave now if I am to reach Pagamon Castrum before the sun rises." "Be safe," she warns. Don't leave the path." At these final words, Petra's body erupts into a swirl of silver smoke before vanishing out of sight. Without wasting another moment in the darkness, Stefen traces his fingers over the golden path before following it back to Pagamencastrum. It moves the same as before, twisting through the mountains just as the path that brought him to the temple. Yet this one seems to cross a different section than before. It uses a shortcut to lessen his journey through the forest of darkness, taking him swiftly to the land of many seasons. After one last look at the map, Stefen folds it up and places it into his pocket before taking a deep breath and setting off to follow where the golden path had been. He walks through the forest of darkness for what feels like only a few short moments before the gloom of the colossal trees around him begins to fall away. Popping up all around in their place are the colorful flowers he had seen on the journey to the temple. Golden sunflowers so large they cast shadows like small trees, growing in beds of wild roses that glisten like splattered blood in the sunlight. Brilliant birds seem to be watching Stefen while he walks down the path. Some of them sit perched on flowers while others fly overhead singing their sly songs. As beautiful as the birds are, he knows better than to get off the path for a closer look, choosing instead to walk onward while trying to ignore them. Soon, he sees again the cliffside castle in the distance, fog still covering the land at its base. This time, however, it looks different. Dark swirls of clouds spin swiftly above the highest tower of the castle, lightning repeatedly striking the same position, what looks to be a balcony opening to the sky. Wicked sorcery, Stefen thinks as the clouds seem to grow and spin even faster. I must hurry, lest that magic reach me here. After all, Pagamencastrum must be close, he thinks, looking over the map once more, and according to it, he would indeed arrive at the castle soon. Stefen places the map back into his pocket before quickening his pace down the path, listening to the songs of nature as he walks on. "Not too much!" a woman's voice shouts out from somewhere off of the trail, causing Stefen to freeze in place, trying to listen. "You're going to ruin it with all that drizzle down the sides. It always makes it too sweet," the same voice finishes. "It's my turn to make the dessert, and I will make it however sweet I like," another woman says to the first. "Besides, the crunch from the topping should help balance out the flavors." "They're baking some kind of sweets," Stefen thinks. "I haven't had any food since I left the castle yesterday morning, and freshly baked cake sounds." "Stay on the path," a small voice in the back of his head interrupts. Kimonis and Petra both warn that not all is what it seems in these mountains, the voice reminds him. "But I'm so hungry," Stefen thinks, drowning out the small voice of warning. "Perhaps I will only get close enough to see if it is safe before deciding on presenting myself to them. If it is not, I can always sneak away and return to the path," he decides, taking his first step off and into the land of many seasons. "Is the fire ready?" one of the women asks, while Stefen inches closer to the origin point of the sound, making sure to hide in the overgrowth as he sneaks in for a closer look. "Yes, it should be more than hot enough now. Let me get the smoke going," the other woman responds as finally Stefen sees a large tree in the middle of the clearing. The tree is hollowed out in a way that suggests the two women live inside its massive trunk. A fire pit is lit next to a stone table just outside of the tree, but what Stefen sees on the table makes his blood run cold. Sitting atop it is a human head on an iron plate, a man's head shaven of all hair with thick, dark blood drizzled down all sides of it. Sprinkled on the top are what looks to Stefen to be crushed up human teeth. "The smoke is going nice and quick now. It should be ready," an ugly woman says while holding the headless body of a hunter into the fire. The clothes on it instantly burst into flames and blow away as ash before the body soon catches fire, and a horrible black smoke mixes with the flames. A horrible scent fills the air, forcing its way down Stefen's nose and throat. The sweet smell of blackened meat nauseates Stefen's body, so pungent it feels like a taste on his tongue. The woman's skin looks tight and translucent, stretched over her skeletal body, giving her the appearance of one who has been living for centuries without the use of food or water. Her head is badly balding, with only a few long strands of gray hair sticking out of her scab-covered scalp. "It has been so long since we've eaten man's flesh. Sneaking so far north to hunt has become more and more difficult each time, sister. But the feast is always worth the effort," the other woman says, looking nearly identical to the first. "We have circled the sun twice since last savoring the meat of their minds, but only a few moments longer and we shall relish the flavor once more." "Pity we caught only one, though," the other woman adds, Had the child not escaped, we could have saved the second head to feast on tomorrow, she adds, great tones of sadness seeping through her voice. I must leave as quickly and as quietly as I can, he thinks, slowly stepping in the opposite direction of the woman's home. Snap. The sound slices through the silence, echoing through the air after Stefen steps on a fallen tree limb. What was that? One of the women says before Stefen hears her set the plate back down on the table. A new addition to our feast, perhaps, the other one says before he hears a rustling sound begin moving towards Stefen's direction. I must run, he decides, rising to his feet and sprinting towards the path. I hear it moving, one of them says. I'm going to catch it, she adds before breaking into a run in his direction. He darts toward the path faster than ever before, his feet ripping through the flowers and snapping branches as he does so. I hear you, the woman's cruel voice sings out, echoing through the forest around him. I'm going to get you. I must be close now, Stefen says, though in truth he has no idea which direction the path is in, so he stops moving for a moment and checks the map for help. Ah, trying to be quiet and hide away, I see, the woman says, this time further away than before. No matter, I will find you nonetheless, she says, but the golden path looks to lay just to the left of where Stefen thinks he is, and so he begins again to sprint in the direction of it. Once he finally comes back to the path, Stefen throws his body down onto it, and after hearing nothing but the birds and the wind, he feels thankful again to be safe. No more adventures for today, he says, breathing heavily while trying to recover from the run back to the path. Straight to Pagum Castrum and no more distractions, he decides before getting to his feet and walking back in the direction of the castle. Whether because of his state of exhaustion or because he simply is not paying attention, Stefen makes his way through the land of many seasons far quicker than he did on the way to the temple. So quickly does he move down the path that he finds himself in sight of the icy gates of Pagum Castrum, before the sun even begins to rise. He finally arrives at the land bridge leading up to the castle, its gates standing frozen and colossal, sparkling magnificently in the sunlight. Although the crystal bars are fused together with some icy sorcery, they drift open easily as leaves in the autumn wind at Stefen's approach. The moment he steps through their threshold, a swirl of wind and snow appears before him and vanishes. In its place stands the goddess Kimonos. You have returned so soon, she says in a voice comforting as warm cider. I trust your journey was successful as it has been swift. It was, my lady. The priestess of the mysterious arts helped me to recover it from the earth, he says, pulling the gem of sorcery from his pocket, which now seems to glisten softly with a cool white light. My faith in you has not been misplaced, Kimonos says. Come inside, for you are cold, hungry, and tired. It is time for you to reap the rest that you have worked so hard to earn, she says, taking Stefen's hand into hers and leading him back into the castle. Once you have eaten and rested, find me in the tallest tower. There I will explain what we are to do with the gem, she says, opening the door to Stefen's bedchamber. Until then, recover well from your journey, for you have earned it. I will see you soon, Stefen, she says, before leaving the room and closing the door behind her. The room looks just as he left it, except there's a silver tray full of food sitting on top of the table. Different assortments of cheeses and breads, along with 2 glass bowls of honey and olives, lay piled atop the tray. After eating to his satisfaction and taking a long hot bath, Stefen finds his body feeling completely rested from the trip. He quickly dresses himself before leaving his room, searching for the tallest tower of Pagum Castrum. I wonder, Stefen thinks before speaking a command out loud to the enchanted castle. I must meet Kimonos in the tallest tower. Show me the way, Stefen commands, and like a great power has been brought from his words, nearly all the light around him instantly goes out. The only light left within the castle walls leads to his left and up a large stone staircase. I wonder why it is that Kimonos wishes me to meet her there, he says quietly, following the brightly lit path through the castle. After a while of walking and climbing, Stefen finally comes to a small spiraled staircase leading upward. While climbing up it, he hears the voice of his goddess calling out to him. I am here, Stefen, she says, her voice issuing from behind a wooden door at the top of the stairwell. Come in. I have something I must show you. Stefen pushes the heavy door open to reveal a wondrous sight. Kimonos stands in the middle of a large circular room, the ceiling and walls seemingly invisible so that he can see right to the stars in the sky or the mountains around them. I'm looking at the conditions of the celestials, she explains, before snapping her fingers, and as she does so, The room they are in seems to jet skyward toward the heavens, giving Stefen a truly face-to-face view of the sky and its stars. "It looks like I could reach out and touch them," he says, stepping into the room and closing the door behind him. "But I have not heard that word before. What are the Celestials?" he asks. "The Celestials," she begins to explain, "are the heavenly bodies which exist beyond our realms, the stars both fixed and wandering which dwell in the sky. The Celestials, like so many others before and after them, were created long ago by one of the three primordials." "Primordials?" Stefen asks, a puzzled look on his face. "The three primordials were the first beings to gain consciousness," she continues to explain, but after seeing the confusion covering Stefen, she decides to change how she describes it. "Let us start at the beginning when there was nothing but the void of chaos." She begins again. "An endless shadow which encompasses all that was and ever would come to be, laying in an endless expansion of emptiness. For millennia, there was nothing in existence save this void, until eventually chaos erupted. The eruption of the chaotic void sent hurtling two unique forms of chaos into the emptiness of space. Material chaos was the first of the two sent into space. This is what your world is built of. Being the rawer and more unrefined of the two, material chaos was not scattered as far throughout space, and because of this, it formed into one large physical mass within space, the terrestrial realm, which you call home. When immaterial chaos was thrown, however, it was in such a refined state of existence that it interacted with space and reality differently than the other had. This caused it to be scattered further and over a much larger distance, which in turn allowed the immaterial chaos to form into 4 small clusters rather than one large one. Each of these 4 piles of chaos would eventually form their own consciousness, becoming the primordial beings of creation. Though long dead with their names not remembered, never known even by the gods, these 4 primordials each commanded a powerful aspect tied to creation. The ancient beings of life, light, death, and time are the primordials who originally created and governed the realms around us. It was the Lady of Light, whose voice wields great power for it, was tied to chaos itself, that used her power to create the stars and illuminate the realm. She designed the constellations before singing to them a song so sweet they would forever dance throughout the night sky. It is this power that has been imbued into the stars, which we are to call down and bind during our ritual. "So without the power of her voice the wandering stars would cease to move?" Stefen asks. "No," she explains. "The Lady of Light helped the constellations to move through the sky, but the wandering stars of which you speak, the ones which move on their own as individuals, these are separate beings entirely." "How will the powers of these stars help us?" he asked the goddess, struggling to understand. "The stars have, over time, like the primordials, gained their own consciousness and transcended into spirits. This is why their power can have an effect on the realms without them being directly present in them. A very few of these stars, however, went on to develop connections so deeply tied to the realms that they would gain a nearly physical being like that of the gods. These 8 wandering stars, or the 8 planetes, as we call them, are the most powerful beings in the heavens. In truth, because they were created by one of the primordials, their powers are closer to that of chaos and creation than the divine. Because these forces are deeply powerful yet bound not by the laws of the gods or the realms, this makes them very difficult to wield safely. It is Neptunus, the 8th of the planetes, that is tied to the freezing winds of frost. When the time is right, we shall call out to the spirit and draw their energy into this gem of sorcery," she says, holding up the blue-white crystal he had retrieved for her. "When this is complete, you will be capable of calling upon the powers of frost and snow without my direct aid," Kimonos explains. Stefen finally understands. "I shall wield sorcery of my own," he says. "Sorcery the same as Petra, the high priestess of Mr. Heractus," she interrupts. "You shall wield sorcery powerful enough to help shape the realms to the divine will. Though that is to come in the future, so now we must discuss your next step in completing the rituals of devotion." "I understand. What must I do next?" Stefen asks. "There is an ancient river that flows through the bases of these mountains. At its shores you will carry out a ritual of purification that will refine your spirit and align the virtues of your soul with that of the realms. This will open up your body and mind, making you capable of doing many new things, one of which is to see, speak with, and understand the spirits living within the realms. Without doing this, the stars will not hear your call when they are invoked for the final ritual. Only once this is done will we be ready to advance down the path of devotion," the goddess says. "When must I leave?" Stefen asks, the aches from his previous journey still fresh on his body. The constellations and planetes must be in the proper formation for the ritual to work, yet they shall not happen again for another fortnight. Until then, I shall teach you what I know of the high arts within the realms. What are the high arts? He asks. The high arts are the highest divine teachings that have been passed down from the gods to man. Though mankind has taken to calling some of them sorcery, magic, or miracles, the high arts are named so because of the high level of intellect it takes to work them properly. Though magic when cast by a skilled sorcerer may seem simple, it takes a complete understanding of 3 key philosophies before one can begin to wield such powers. The first is the philosophy of nature, which shall teach you the inner workings of that which has its biases in this realm, looking into the causes, effects, times, and places of that which occurs in the natural order. Mathematical philosophy is that which teaches the virtues and qualities of the celestials, studying and mapping their movement and course throughout the sky. It is through this philosophy and its mapping of the heavenly movements that allows us to study, predict, and manipulate the metaphysical effects that can take place between the celestials and the natural world. The final is theological philosophy, that which teaches of the divine. What is the soul and from where did it come? What sacred rites or teachings should mankind follow? It shall teach you concerning the sacred rituals of seals, words, writings, and symbols, teaching the methods of ceremony, rites, and ancient practices. The combination of these 3 philosophies is imperative to this study, for if one does not know the virtues of nature, then the art of herbal association and their uses is lost upon him. Should one not recognize the uses of herbs, they could not know to which gods they must be sacrificed, and should these rituals be carried out without consulting the skies, and when the stars lay unaligned, then the powers cannot flow to the sorcerer as they must. This is why, without a complete understanding of these things, sorcery and even divine magic cannot work, because the realms function as a unified harmonious being. A unified and harmonious understanding must be employed in order to shape it through sorcery, she says, before snapping her fingers again, and the room leaves the stars, returning to the place it belongs as the walls become solid stone once more. Many of these ideas, so complex that even an introductory level may be lost upon you, yet in time I see you grow to understand all of which I speak. For now, allow me to lead you to the castle library if you are ready to begin your studies, she adds, extending her hand to Stefen. There you delve into many texts on the realms, and when you are ready, learn to perform the sorceries written within them. I'm ready, Stefen says, taking the hand of the goddess into his own before his head begins to spin with the many possibilities of his sorceress studies.